You might be wondering why the late breakdown. This trailer came out more than a week ago. Well, my dear viewer, that is a very good question, one that I don't have the answer to. But I think we should move on to more important stuff like the actual breakdown. At the start of the video, you get to see the executive producer for MKX. He is also our narrator for the day, but nobody really cares. And is it just me, or does he look like a serial killer? But moving on, we get to see the select screen. There the narrator explains that Quan Chi is going to play a big part in the MKX story, and it makes sense because Quan Chi always had a big part in the MK stories. After that we get to see Quan Chi riding on what I assume is a goat horse hyper that's on fire, and it looks badass. And we then get to see his first variation, which is Sorcerer. In this variation, Quan Chi heavily relies on magic spells that can cripple enemies or buff the character. He even has a spell that allows him to absorb damage. This variation will be playing the keep away game. And that's what I notice about all these different variations. Each one tends to target something specific. For example, variation 1 is heavily focused on range attacks and keeping enemies away. Variation 2 is focused on close combat with special moves that are close ranged, and variation 3 is in between, balancing both variations. Then we get to see his warlock variation, and in all honesty, when I first saw this variation I immediately thought,
now you're thinking with portals.
In this variation, Quan Chi uses portals for almost all his moves, but what I also noticed is that he seems to also use his sword a lot in this variation, which makes it even more fun to play with. Now, some of these combos just look amazingly fun to perform and seem simple enough. You have to give the animators of this game props for making the animations look this great. Now to our final variation, the Summoner, which allows Quan Chi to summon a demon bat and I assume some other demons, but we don't get to see other than the demon bat in this trailer. This variation by far seems the weakest to me, but maybe NetherRealm will make it better in the end game. I mean, from what we get to see in this variation doesn't give you much hope for it. I mean, come on, a demon bat, that doesn't sound scary or badass, it actually sounds quite adorable and non-threatening. Here we get to see the X-ray, and man, it is awesome. Quan Chi crashes Kano's skull using 2 green skulls and then throws him in a portal, and well, basically you can see what happens. And at the end we get to see a glimpse of Quan Chi's fatality, and oh my god, it looks gory and great. Basically Quan Chi lets the enemy give his sword a blowjob. I assume it's not quite like that, but that's all we get to see, and that's all I will assume until I see the full thing.